Okay, so today in this video journal, we're going to talk about the progesterone in oil, or PIO shots. Usually these are the least favorite of all the shots. These are like the bad girls, let's say, of all the shots you have to do for injectables. But I'm here to tell you that with a couple little tricks that other people taught me, they're not going to be that bad. But I was pretty much dreading these. So here's some helpful hints that my husband and I have for you today, right, hon?
Yes.
So, first of all, you start the same way by cleaning off the top of the PIO bottle. Now, one thing I should say is try to get your progesterone in the thinnest oil possible. That will really make a difference in how painful the actual injection is. So this is progesterone in ethyl oleate. So ask your doctor and or pharmacist to get the progesterone in the thinnest possible oil. So meanwhile, while you're preparing this, what I would do is basically have this big ice pack right on my butt. You don't have to show my butt though. So some people prefer heat before and after. What I found was that ice before for a good 10 minutes and heat right after totally did the trick. My butt, totally numb. I could literally sit on a nail and not even feel it. And actually that's pretty much what you're doing. So start with the ice while you're preparing this so that your butt cheek gets all nice and numb. The other helpful hint, if you like at the very beginning, is have a nurse draw on your hip where exactly your husband or partner should be giving you the shot. That way you won't have to worry so much that you're doing it in the right spot. Right, hon? That was helpful, huh?
Very helpful.
Okay. I'm like the Heloise of shots. Do you know who Heloise is, hon?
Nope.
She used to write this book about helpful hints like 101 things to do with mayonnaise and how to get red wine out of a carpet. I'm like the new Heloise of today, I think. Okay, so meanwhile, butt on ice, clean the top. Now, you are going to draw up the PIO with a freaking huge needle. But don't worry, this isn't the injection needle. It just helps you because it's actually very thick. And another helpful thing is that if you just warm it up a little bit before. So you do the same thing you do with all the other injectable medications, is you put the needle in, you tilt it to the side, remember to keep that beveled edge down, then you draw up the amount that you need slowly, draw up a little bit more, and then you can just lower the needle slowly to get the exact amount, then turn it over. And now what you want to do again is you want to pull the needle down, the syringe I mean, so that you get all the medication out of the needle so you don't waste any. Then you want to carefully recap it, then switch needles. So the good news is you're switching from a humongous needle. The bad news is you're switching to a still relatively big needle. But don't worry, they're very thin. That's why you want to get the PIO in thin O. That's the key. Because with the thin oil, you can use a thinner needle. It's still going to be probably an inch, maybe even an inch and a half long. Now the skinny girls can probably get away with an inch, but remember, this isn't an IM shot. Or actually, sorry, it is. It's not sub-Q. It's actually in your muscle. So that's why most of us with a little junk in our trunk, you don't have to show that part either, we need the 1.5 inch long needle. But if you're lucky enough to be skinny, ask your doctor, maybe you're going to be able to use a 1-inch needle. So the whole time your butt is still on ice. Now what you want to do is have your co-shot giver kind of hold this in their hand. And you want to do that for about how long? About 5 minutes. About 5 minutes. And again, it's going to warm it to body temperature and it's going to thin it out even a little bit more. And this is really helpful. So some girls choose to put this in their bra, carry it around for a little while. That was not my thing. I just had my lovely husband, who was a great help, just hold it in his hand for about 5 minutes or so. So then when this is warm and your butt's cold, you want to uncap it, which I'm not going to do. You get the idea. Now here's the helpful hint. Now before the other shots, the sub-Q, you probably pinched the skin in your belly. You want to do the exact opposite here. You want to stretch the skin out between one of your hands. before you do the injection. And then just keep in mind, what I was told is that the pain receptors are just in the surface of the skin. So once the needle goes in, you're really not going to feel much. So you want to stretch the skin, and then what you want to do is just stab it right in the spot that the nurse told you with a quick darting motion. And then the only other thing you have to do, which is sort of unusual with the PIO, is you want to have the shot giver pull back just a scooch and make sure that there's no blood that gets into the needle that you can see in the syringe. That's because you don't want to hit a little vein. That part used to gross me out, and every night I would be like, are you sure there's no blood? Are you sure you didn't hit a vein? And every night my husband would say, what would you say, honey?
No.
Exactly. So most people never encounter that, but it's just one other thing you sort of have to keep in mind. So just pull back, what, like a little tiny bit?
Yep.
And it's clean, no problem. And then you want to give the injection, so go ahead and sort of with, like, you know, a quick motion, inject the medication in, and then pull out the needle, and then right away you're going to have another little pad, a cotton swab or a cotton ball. Put that right on the injection site and give it a little massage, because the key is that you don't want all that progesterone in the oil to get stuck in a big knot there. You want it to disperse. So you're going to give it a little massage, and then what I found was right away have a heating pad already getting warm on the couch or in bed. And so as soon as you're done administering the shot, just give it that little massage, and then you want to sit right down and put your hip right on that heating pad for a good 10 or 15 minutes. And keep rubbing it. Again, the key is that it doesn't get stuck in a knot in your muscle and that it disperses. And most of us have a little bit of soreness, which is why you rotate from the right to the left side and back again and blah, blah, blah. So you probably have a little soreness, but honestly, between the ice at the beginning and then the heat at the end, I found that it really was not that bad. So I hope that these hints were helpful for those of you that are just starting this process. And by the time you get to the PIO, you're like in the last stretch. I wish you very much.
I've got you under my skin.